Hey guys, City Walk, City Wall here, and welcome back to Kobayashi Island. I wanted to start off this episode today by introducing something that I hope can be fun for everyone who's listening, which is a little build-off competition where I'm leaving open a portion of downtown for the foreseeable future, the next couple months at least, and going to leave it open for you guys to build something in it, something that hopefully is unique to you and that you're going to have fun building and that will end up getting placed down permanently in Kobayashi Island. Obviously, it's only going to work if enough people submit. I can't have only one person submit, and that's automatically the winner of a competition, because that's not really much of a competition. Hopefully I don't have to end up building it myself, but I think it could be something that's really, really fun to do, and if enough people are interested, I'd love to continue doing it in the future, just leave it open for other places in Kobayashi Island to get built by you guys as well. So let's show you guys the area of downtown. Actually, hold on, this is kind of cool. I just want to show this train entering the central station real quick first, because I just love this central station. It's so busy, and this is a nice little following the train thing that we're doing right now. I just wanted to figure out something that I could show you while I talk for a little bit before introducing this area, but since we did get to Central Station here, you can see the train like going underneath. It's kind of cool. Anyways, so we're in downtown Kobayashi Island, obviously, and just to get you oriented, this is kind of the more normal way of looking at it. We're going to be doing the build off on this block right here. So it has the street on the left, this train track on the bottom, the freeway on the right, and this other street on top. So between these four things is going to be where I'm leaving it open for you guys to build part of the city and try to think of something that's really unique to you and something that no one else would have thought of, and something that's kind of like a focal point of downtown, something that is very much, you know, taking this whole area and utilizing the fact that it's a kind of a large unbroken area in downtown. It's not just like a bunch of nicely arranged apartment buildings. Like, for instance, this area is like, you know, I could just arrange a bunch of apartment buildings mindlessly. That's not very difficult. What's more difficult is figuring out something that is kind of like a centerpiece of downtown, like something that has a purpose and a story behind it, and is kind of cohesive for you and uses this whole space. So try to think of something cool. I know you guys can. You probably have a million cool ideas for Kobayashi Island, and this is your chance to do it. So if we get enough submissions, the winner will get placed down here permanently in Kobayashi Island. Regardless, I'll show off everyone who submits. I'll show off what they built in a future episode. And if it's successful, I would love to do it in other parts of the city as well, kind of give you guys free reign to build lots of things in Kobayashi Island. So that's that. Let's get into the episode. So this episode, I wanted to continue sort of making my way towards where the airport is going to be. And so what I did was I made sort of like an auxiliary part of the port. It's sort of like, it's part of the harbor in the same general area, but it's completely across the water where you'd have to drive a much different route to get over here. This is where I used to have my vanilla nuclear power plant and my sewage treatment just sitting here for a long time, undetailed, just kind of like serving the city. So at this point, most of the rest of the area on Kobayashi Island for things like that are taken up, and I do think this is kind of going to be the general area where those two services are going to go. But this episode, I only get to the sewage area, and I take the vanilla power plant and I actually move it into the farmland, because that's one of the other only areas that's available at this point. But that's not where I'm planning on having it going. Eventually, when I really do the nuclear power plant, it'll be somewhere on this side of the island, kind of near the airport. So the first thing that you see me do here is make this freeway off-ramp that took, for some reason, a really long time to do. I don't know why exactly. I guess I added a little bit more detail than I usually do. But after that, I started to go into detail with this sewage treatment plant. And in my last city that I made before Kobayashi Island, I made a really awesome sewage treatment center. And I actually did a bunch of research into how they look and tried to find images and stuff on Google of how sewage treatment plants look and what kind of features they have and where they're located. So I had a pretty good idea going into this of how I wanted it laid out. So first thing I did was I made an inlet for ocean water to enter the sewage treatment plant and put some water pumps along the inlet, kind of sucking in water. In reality, it'd be more like treated sewage water goes into the ocean from the plant. But the way I have it set up here, ocean water enters the plant via the pump. So the direction of the water is wrong, but it does actually serve to provide water to the city. So it has sort of the opposite functionality, but it's okay. The next thing that I did was I placed down a bunch of tanks and sewage treatment buildings that actually functionally treat the sewage in the city, and connected them with a ton of pipes all over, different props, different types of pipes, and kind of made this look as cool as I could, as cluttered and filled with different pipes going in different ways as I could. I used these awesome, you see me place it down now, this Japanese arcade shopping center prop, which is supposed to be for putting kind of shops and stuff underneath, but it looks a lot like something that you might find at a sewage treatment plant with just all these pipes and walkways up above. So you see me place those down over the pumps now, and I'm going to place some more down later. I'm going into a little bit more detail with this than I usually would. Like for instance, you saw me place down those grates over the water, which add just a little bit of detail only when you're zoomed all the way in. And it's not exactly the most broad strokes kind of building, which is what I've generally been leaning towards in Kobayashi Island, just trying to get things looking good from a distance. But with this sewage treatment plant, I decided to just go into slightly more detail. I think just because I've been really thinking a lot about this new series that I want to do and how it's going to be a lot more detailed than this series is, and I just was getting in the mood of doing a little bit more detailing than I usually do. So like I said at the beginning of the episode, I thought it could be really fun to do a build-off contest, but it's one of those things that it's only really going to work if enough people submit, and I can't just have one person submit a build and that's automatically the winner. So please, again, if you're interested, just do it. It'll be so fun. The area is very small. It shouldn't take all that long to do, and I'll showcase all the builds that end up getting submitted, even the ones that don't get picked for the actual city, in an episode at some point when I place down the winner. So we'll all get to watch, what everyone made. I think it'll be a really fun little showcase for everyone. Again, try and think of something that's really unique that can go into that area. I always tend to, if I'm not really thinking of something specific, just start placing down a bunch of nicely arranged apartments or shops or whatever. But this area it's pretty large compared to some of the other areas in the city, so it could really be one of the main features of downtown, have a real purpose. Feel free to use anything that's in the Kobayashi Island Collection on the workshop in terms of buildings and props. And I think as a rule, let's say you can download maybe 3 additional assets to use that aren't in the collection. So if you want a very specific building or a prop that I don't have, go for it, but just make sure that you don't download a ton. Let's limit it to 3. And when we do submissions on Discord, you can send along those 3 assets or however many you end up using, under 3, that would need to be downloaded in order to open this up. And yeah, just send along that with your screenshots, a description, and probably a WeTransfer or Google Drive link to the save game file, which I'll link in the description below exactly where you can find that on your computer. But that's also just a Googleable thing. I'm sure if you Google it, you can find out where your save game files are for the game. So those things would need to be submitted in order to submit your build. So yeah, really looking forward to this. I have faith that you guys can make something really, really awesome. And I really hope enough people actually participate, because if not, this probably won't work and I'll just have to build the area myself. So submit, and hopefully your submission will end up in Kobayashi Island. So after the sewage treatment plant, the next thing that I built in this area was a Honda car factory, which I made using the car factory, unique factory. You just saw me place it down. It's absolutely massive. I was trying to figure out, what kind of things would make sense to have port access, like what would need to still go in the port. And this is kind of like one of the last areas of the port that, still has access to the water. And I was browsing Google Maps in Tokyo and saw this awesome area where they have like thousands of parked cars. I'm assuming they're Toyotas or Hondas, all waiting to get loaded up onto ships. So I thought that would be a really awesome thing to do here, especially since the car factory is literally one of the 3 unique factories I still haven't built. So it was a pretty no-brainer decision. I started off here by placing down the factory, and the factory comes sort of pre-detailed, but I really wanted to make the most of the areas within the factory and have asphalt texture instead of pavement texture, make it look like there were roads. And so you see me placing down a ton of these network surfaces, the asphalt surfaces. And in doing this, I figured out the really awesome additional thing you can do with those. It's kind of endless what you can do with those assets. But what I did that was really awesome was I placed them all down. I used different thicknesses, so there's very thick ones that make up kind of like the main areas of this asphalt, and then I used very thin ones and made like a curved segment and just copied that curved segment all around to really quickly and easily make kind of curved corners for the roads inside of the factory there. So I think that's like a really unique look, and also a really cool thing you can do is just very quickly and easily make curved segments of grass or pavement or asphalt, like with perfectly straight lines attached to it. So very cool with doing that. I also went around the edge of the asphalt with a network curb asset, which was pretty tedious and time consuming, and I don't think it's something that I would have normally done in Kobayashi Island if I wasn't in the mood to do some detailing, but I did that. And then I also used some procedural objects for the first time here in Kobayashi Island. I used it in a few different places. The most obvious one is there's a great Honda sign that comes with this pack of roof signs that I have. It's just like a pretty regular looking Honda sign, and it's kind of small, and I wanted it to be really big. So that's one of the easy features that procedural objects can do, is enlarge things. So you're seeing me right now place down this sign and a pillar system, and I don't do it quite yet, but I'll come back to this little area in a little bit and make it way bigger. And I also do it right here, actually. You're seeing me now enlarge that sign to make it really big and fit on the side of the building and cover up the Jubilee logo that was there before. That's the vanilla car company name, I guess. And the other place I use it is in this huge parking lot that you're seeing me put down now. And this is sort of what I'm taking inspiration from Google Maps to do. This was kind of the area that I noticed. It was an area very similar to this. And you're seeing me use the network assets. Actually, I'll talk about that real quick because you just saw it. It's another amazing thing you can do with the network surface assets is they can be at a slope. So I use them there to make ramps. But in terms of procedural objects, the reason that I was using it here was you're just seeing how many props and cars are getting put down here. And procedural objects is really awesome because if you turn props or decals into procedural objects, it takes that away from the prop limit. So there's obviously a prop limit of how many props you can actually place down in City Skylines in any given game. It's around 60,000 props. And as you can see here, I mean, each of these X's is 2 decals, so that's 2 props, plus the car, and there's so many of them. And so this has got to be like 5 or 10,000 props right here. So I turned them all into procedural objects in order to save that in the prop count. And the other cool thing that does actually is it changes the LOD distance of those props. So as default, there's a certain distance where props kind of disappear on you. Like if you zoom out too far, you can't really see them anymore. And turning them into procedural objects increases that distance. And you can also change it to a custom distance to whatever distance you want, but the default worked for me here. Made it so that you can see these cars from much further away, and that's pretty awesome. There's a third time that I use procedural objects this episode, which you're about to see me do. I made this like ship here that carries cars because I couldn't find a good car carrying ship on the workshop. It really seems like that's something that should exist. There is like a vehicle version of it, but there's no prop version of it. And so I kind of was making like a custom car carrying ship using these sort of wall network assets and some surfaces and this little tunnel here. So now you're seeing me use the mod in order to shape this tunnel asset into more of like a ramp so that cars can get from the lower levels of the ship where they enter up to this upper level where there's a bunch of them parked up here. And I'm assuming there's more levels of cars within the ship. It's just a car carrying ship. And I'm also using it here to get that little door sort of more on the actual side of the ship as opposed to not really looking like it's attached. So that's a pretty awesome mod. This isn't the first time I've used it, but this episode, like I've said a couple times now, I really was for some reason in the mood to do a lot of detailing, and procedural objects is really getting nitty gritty with the detailing. So I just thought, might as well start using it now if I'm gonna continue using it throughout Kobayashi Island. This is a good time at any to start using it, and yeah, it's a cool mod. What you're seeing me do now is I'm making a mail sort of hub, like where all the mail cars kind of like live and get loaded up, and like a big office building where maybe they sort mail, or all the, I don't know, maybe there are offices at mail places, I don't know, but maybe there's offices in there too. And this area, I used a ton of these like invisible mail truck spawners. There's a really great pack of invisible spawners for every type of service, for police cars and for ambulances and for helicopters and the natural disasters DLC, and just like any type of vehicle that gets spawned, there's a like invisible building that you can place down and it spawns those things. So I put a ton of them here, a bunch of mail ones, and it got completely overrun with mail trucks. Like, I was looking at my importing and exporting statistics in like that whatever menu that is, and at this point like half of the stuff that I was importing in the whole island was mail for some reason. And you can just see this line of mail cars leaving. So I kind of had to play a fine line of how many of those invisible buildings I could actually have, and kind of messing with that intersection over there to relieve traffic a little bit because it was getting out of hand. This next thing that I'm building is a similar kind of area, but for taxis. So this is like the taxi depot. And I did this here because this area is going to be pretty much directly next to the airport. And I'm doing an awesome thing here, continuing to use these network surface assets to make like a very unique shaped parking lot very easily. It's all asphalt. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I place a bunch of cars all around. And my technique with that, which I used in the mail area and I'm going to use again here, is I place down cars everywhere. I fill every single parking spot, put down whatever decals are needed, and then afterwards I go through and delete random ones so that it looks like not every single car is there at any given moment, like a bunch of them are out on whatever mission they're on or thing that they're doing that day, and it still looks like they're evenly parked throughout. So these aren't functional parking spots, but they are actually functional taxi depots. So there's a number of taxi spawners, invisible taxi spawners throughout this parking lot, and taxis will obviously spawn from here and ideally drive to the airport and pick someone up there and then deliver them wherever, come back here. So that's that. So the last thing that I do this episode is I made a really large warehouse over by the postal center, sort of along the water. And the reason I did this there is there's something weird going on with my ore industry. I don't know if this is because I have rebalanced industries mod or if it's an issue with the industries DLC, but in both Kobayashi Island and in the save game that I made before Kobayashi Island, I've had the same issue where the ore industry at a certain point just like stops working properly and goods don't get delivered from ore storage to ore processing buildings like they're supposed to. Like there's something going on where ore is created, it gets sent to the ore storage, and then it like never gets delivered to the places that it needs to in order to turn into glass and metal. So I wanted to see what the deal was, like if that issue was just the ore industry I had already made, there was an issue with that, or if it was with all ore industries. So I made this big warehouse here and put sort of like an entire self-sustaining ore industry inside of it with glass and metal production facilities, a storage facility, and a couple little underground mines that are all hidden inside these big warehouses here. And I was just trying to see if that would work to make like if it was an issue with the ore industry I already had, or if it was all ore industries. And it turns out I'm pretty sure it's all ore industries have this issue for some reason. I don't know how to fix it. Kind of ruining some of my ability to produce goods, which is not good, but it is what it is. If you happen to have had this issue and know the solution, definitely let me know, because it'd be nice to fix this or figure out at least what I did or what happened that made it do it. So right now you're seeing me put down a little elementary school. It looks like an industrial building, but it's actually an elementary school. And I just do that here because I thought a building could go here and it would attract some people to this area and have them park in these parking lots. And then the very, very last thing that I do is detail up this highway with some trees and rocks and just kind of make it look a little bit more natural. And this is the highway that's going to go all the way to the airport and kind of dead end over there. I'm thinking that it goes to sort of like the main terminal area and splits off, where half of it goes on like a little loop around the pickup and drop off areas for the airport, and the other half kind of goes beyond that to where the cargo airport is going to be. So a lot of trucks ideally will go sort of like past the main loop of the airport and onto the the cargo area, and then dead end over there. So just kind of like thinking about the series and what is left to build and this airport coming up. I'm guessing that we'll have like 4 or 5 of these episodes on the airport itself, and because the airport is going to be pretty large, it's going to take quite a few episodes to get done. And then at some point we're going to have to obviously finish out sort of the farmland and the rural area. It's another couple episodes. We're going to have to do downtown, which I want to make into as many episodes as possible just because that stuff is so fun to build and look at. I'll kind of try and stretch that area out, or that chunk of episodes out. And there'll probably be like another episode or two of just like random things around the island, like obviously the nuclear power plant, and if there's going to be like little things in the hills, little towns, or some stuff along the beach here and there. Maybe some parks and things up in the mountains, some hiking trails. Maybe that'll be more than one episode. It'll be a few episodes of that kind of stuff probably. And yeah, I think there's not going to be a million more episodes of Kobayashi Island. We're getting sort of close to the end. The end is in sight, but it's not immediate, I would say. If there's anything specific you want to see get built in Kobayashi Island before it's done, let me know. Or if there's something specific you want to see, like another city tour, or I don't know, a first-person train ride or something, helicopter tour, let me know. I obviously love to hear what you guys are interested in seeing, and I would love also to showcase the city as much as I can before it's over. So that's about it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to the airport in the near future, and thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.